Robert Schwartztrauber here from PhotoshopTipCards.com. Today I want to talk a little bit about Photoshop Actions. Photoshop Actions are a great way to automate your Photoshop process and speed things along. Basically what you're doing is taking something and repeating it many times. Say you had a whole folder of photos that you wanted to create some special effect on, or even just something as simple as just adding your logo or copyright mark to the bottom. You could put that into an action, and each time you opened a photo, regardless of how many steps were required to achieve the result you want, Photoshop would automatically do that for you at the push of a button. You just sit back and change your complete photo. I have a photo here of a lighthouse nearby, and for this action I decided I would change it to black and white. So I can show you what we did. We just went from color to black and white. Now that's a fairly common thing, and we added a logo at the bottom here. You might have a whole folder full of photos that you wanted to change into black and white, and rather than go into each one and run through the same specific steps for each one, you could create a Photoshop action that would let you automatically turn all your color photos into black and white. I'll just run through briefly what we did here in the steps. I'll just delete these here so we can start fresh, and I'll show you the whole procedure. Delete the layer. And we'll get rid of this one as well. Okay, to create a Photoshop action, it's located under your Windows palette. So you'll go up to Window, and you'll look down. You'll see you already have your layers active most of the time in Photoshop. But you'll go and open up the Action tab. And now you'll see there's probably a whole bunch of stuff in here. If you've never done an action before, you may find that you have nothing there, which is fine too. And just like all the other Photoshop screens, if you want to create a new action, down here at the bottom there'll be a little folded up corner, and you'll click that and it'll say New Action. You can name your action. I'm going to name my action, let's call it 2 black and white. And then we'll just hit the record button. See, I've already have one here that's labeled black and white, but that's okay. We'll put another one. It'll jump to the bottom, start a new action for you. Now the record is already live because we told it we wanted a new action. So all we have to do is begin. And what will happen is as we do each step in our Photoshop process, Photoshop will record it, and you'll see it appear down in the corner here under this one. And let's just get started. First we want to duplicate our layer. So I'll bring that down here, and you'll see Photoshop said, okay, duplicate your layer. Now what I'm going to do is go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Gradient Map, which is a good way to turn your photos to black and white. It preserves most of the detail for you. Say OK. And there we are. If you get some other color here, you can always go into this one. And you'll see there's a bunch of choices here, but normally what you want is the black to white. And we'll just say OK. There we are. We have that. Now we've turned it to black and white. What I'm going to do is just merge the layers down now. So I can take this separate layer and merge it into this one because I want to do some other things too. So I'm just going to do Control E on my keyboard to merge it down. Next thing I want to do is go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Curves, and say OK. Normally when you convert to a black and white one, you're doing it because the contrast is good in that. So to increase the contrast a little bit more, in curves I'll just bring this arrow down just a little bit and bring this arrow just up a little bit. And I'll do that in just about all of my photos, just to increase the contrast a little bit. And then just say, I'll bring that over here, then just say OK. And we've done that. Now I'm going to merge that down also because I just want it on one layer. Control E merges it down. And now generally what I want to do on my photos is add just a little copyright symbol down at the bottom here. So I'm going to click on that. This might be bigger than you'd normally do, but I just want to show you. So I'll put a C 2010. Of course, you know that C doesn't protect your work for copyright purposes. I'm just doing it for demonstration here. You really need the C with the circle around it. And I'll just put my name in there. Of course, your name won't be that long. And there we have it. I'm not going to merge this down because there's a reason that you'd want to leave your text on a separate layer. Um, Anything you're doing in an overall, like curves or the gradient map, overall your picture um, is fine for merging down, but when you're doing something with the text, if you had, say, a different size picture, it may not appear in the position that you want it to. So with it being on a separate layer, you could always move it later if you wanted to, and I'll show you that. So that's it. I'm done. I'm going to just click Stop, and that's it. And you'll see that Photoshop has copied everything I did. It duplicated the layer, made the adjustment to gradient map, it merged the layers, it made the curves adjustment, and it merged that layer down, and then it made a text layer. Now I'll show you how this is a great feature of Photoshop. I'm going to go to my folders, and I'm just going to pick a new folder. Let's say this clock tower. We'll open that with Photoshop, and just drag that over here. Now there's a color photo. What I wanted to do was turn that to black and white and put my copyright stamp down at the bottom here. So I'd have to go through 4, 5, 6 steps to do that, or I could just go to my action palette, which has already recorded the action. I want to turn it to black and white. I'll just click that. So I highlighted the layer and click play. And you'll see Photoshop ran through all those things, gave me the black and white layer with the text on a separate layer. So if I don't like the text, you'll see now why I put it on the separate layer. I can just go through, and now I can put it wherever I want. Of course, I wouldn't put it up there, but it doesn't blend well here either. So that's one. You see I did another one here. You can just go in. We'll pick this clock tower. Open with Photoshop. Color profile. Okay, that's a long, tall photo. So let's see how that works out. I go to my layers. It's still highlighted. If I wanted to do this one, I could do this one. I could do this one. Once I'm in the actions, I just click play. Photoshop does it. See, black. Now, the great thing about that is I never have to go back and wonder how to create a black and white photo anymore with my stamp on there. Now, the other thing that makes this great is with actions, you could go through and under the File, Automate, Batch, you could take a folder of 10 photos, 100 photos, 300 photos, 700 photos, it doesn't matter how many. And by using the batch feature with actions, you could basically change a whole folder of color photos into black and white photos in a matter of minutes, and you wouldn't have had to do anything except push the button that says play, the black and white action. And any action you can think of, any combination of keys and functions and filters that you could put on a photo, Photoshop can automate that for you. And if you search on the web, do a Google search of Photoshop actions, you'll see that hundreds of talented Photoshop artists have already created filters for all kinds of things, from putting frames on there, creating oil canvas style paintings, textures. It's all out there. And the great thing about Photoshop actions are they're in their own folder in Photoshop. And so basically you could take a file of someone else's action, something someone else created, and you could import it into your Photoshop program and be running that same action and benefiting from the talents of thousands of creative people out there. That's it. That's Photoshop Actions. I hope you use it to shortcut your Photoshop work. Thanks for joining me today. Robert Schwartztraber, PhotoshopTipcards.com.